Welcome back to another episode, and you're listening to the Raw Knowledge Podcast with your host, as ever, myself, Alex Connor, and I'm back with another talented guest, a bit of a part two to the last podcast, and this morning I'm joined by Adam Shepherd.
Hi.
Thank you for your time this morning, Adam. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
To give a bit of context, I mean, if people have watched the last episode with Tash, I'm sure they'll start to amalgamate it. But for perhaps people just tuning in in general, let's start, as we always do, with what you do, who you are, and why you do it.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm Adam, 39. I was born with spina bifida, so I've been a wheelchair user my whole life. And I get to work with Tash every day. So Tash and I run a business called Invincible together, and well, I guess you could say we're intertwined in a few different ways. So we have the business together. I also coach Tash as a wheelchair racer, and I'm a qualified PT, and I coach Tash in the gym as well. So yeah.
That's awesome, dude.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, let's kind of unpack that a little bit more. First of all, I guess let's talk about, yourself, your spina bifida. Is that, am I pronouncing that correct?
Yeah,
so how did that occur from memory, from our conversations outside of this? This is something that you were born with?
Yeah,
Am
so
I right?
spina bifida is a neural tube defect. If you've ever seen like the pregnancy multivitamins, spina bifida generally always rates a mention because it's used to be the most common. So it's a neural tube defect. They say folate is a big cause of it, or lack of folate in the mother's diet is a big cause of it. It's something you're born with. You can be, so me, a wheelchair user, I have no use for my legs whatsoever. Otherwise, people walking down the street who you could look at and think, there was nothing going on.
Yes.
Could also have it, but have smaller aspects of the disability.
So it might be like, for example, they have a loss of nerves or mobility, but it's not fully.
Could be sensation.
Right.
It could be a limp.
I'm with you.
All that sort of stuff.
There's a lot of differences.
It manifests, I guess you could say, for lack of a better word, in a myriad of different ways.
So this is interesting then, because I mean, someone like, say, Tash, who wasn't born that way, versus yourself. It's a very different sort of, I guess, feel. It's very, the whole outset is different. If you don't know any better and you're born that way, I imagine it's different. So what can, for people who don't or maybe aren't aware, what is it like just, I guess, growing up with this and I guess adapting to life, things we generally take for granted, because life is built, I mean, it's getting better, but it's built for kind of the average. The average height, the average this, the average that.
It is,
And that kind of makes things difficult when you fall out of the norm.
Look, for me growing up, I was really lucky. I was, my mum and dad. I've got a sister also who's 15 months younger than I am, but all very, very supportive of me. And I grew up in a family where I wasn't sort of wrapped up in cotton wool, not mollycoddled. It was That's go good. Out, you give everything a go. If it works, great. If it doesn't, we figure out a way. For me, life is all about adapting. As you sort of alluded to, it is meant for the norm, I guess. And so as a wheelchair user, you find yourself, or a person with disability even, you find yourself adapting a lot to different things, whether it be, simple things like going to the shops, or, going out for dinner with friends, or going to nightclubs, and, even, going out with my wife and my son. I've got a 5-year-old. So as a dad too, doing things like that, it's all about adapting.
So perhaps I want to delve into more like your childhood. It sounds like you had a great upbringing. Like you said, that's probably the best way when your parents, your sister, your family are like, we'll almost maybe, not a little bit hard, but even like give you a little bit of shit to kind of build resilience.
100%.
In terms of, I think it's the whole maxim of being cruel to be kind. It's not cruel, it's just kind of treating someone with respect, in my opinion. But if they were, I guess, walking around on eggshells or giving you special treatment to a degree, you probably would have had a tougher time going out into the real world.
100%.
With that.
100%. Things as such as, just day-to-day standing up for myself in situations, or, when it came to looking for a job, or, putting myself forward for opportunities, that upbringing really helped with all that sort of stuff. Because I grew up saying, no, I can do that, or, give me the opportunity to do that. Whereas I guess, if I was wrapped up in cotton wool and as a child not given those opportunities, yeah, I probably wouldn't have been as able to adapt to that. Yeah.
So back when you were young and you were in school, is that when you fell in love with sport and
Yeah.
that kind of the evolution, or was it something that was a little bit later down the track?
Yeah, evolution is a good word for it, I guess. I was always active. I'm not an academic in any way, shape, or form. Unless it's something I'm really passionate about, sports and exercise and stuff. But yeah, it was an evolution. I started out as a swimmer. Early on, I started swimming when
Right.
I was like 6 or 7,
Nice.
and probably swam through to my mid-teens.
What was it about swimming that you enjoyed?
Just the exercise, and I love growing up on the Gold Coast and being surrounded by water, and I grew up in the water, and swimming was I guess a natural progression. But eventually I got sick of staring at a black line in the middle of the pool, and
Yeah, it's a bit like, it's monotonous, isn't it, swimming?
yeah, and so a friend of mine had a racing wheelchair, a three-wheeled racing wheelchair, and I jumped in it just to give it a go, and as I say, the rest is history. I fell in love with the sport, and that was, I was 12 at that point, raced through until I was maybe 21 or 22. Yeah, so that was sort of the progression, and then as I say, about 21, 22, I got out of the sport. All my friends were going out partying, and mingling with the members of the fairer sex, and
Having a good old time.
yeah, a good old time, and I was training, twice a day, 6 days a week, and at that point, I guess I felt like I was missing out, and because of that, I guess I wasn't enjoying racing so much. It was getting a bit monotonous, and so yeah, decided to get out of it at that point, and then from there, basically a few years went by, and I was just doing all that 20-something-year-olds do, going out with my friends and partying and working and all the rest of it. But I was probably still eating as much as I did when I was training 6 days a week, twice a day. So I kind of decided I needed to get back into something. So I got back in the gym, started training again. But all of a sudden I had this thing like, okay, I'm doing all this exercise, and I'm doing all these specific exercises in specific ways, but I want to know why. So I thought, you know what, this is once again natural progression. Become a personal trainer, and I was starting to find my love for sport and for exercise again. So yeah, it's where I ended up.
Sometimes you have to sort of go to the other side of things to realize what you're not missing out on.
Yeah.
But also you need to scratch that itch as well. I mean, as a young person, that's, we all kind of go through our phase to a degree.
Yeah.
Whether it's earlier, later, whether it's, this much or that much.
Yeah.
Where were the local hangout spots that you went to with the crew, with the lads,
Oh.
or the people you hang around with? Did you have any specific nightclubs or hangout spaces or
We used to
places?
spend a lot of time in Surfers. Surfers.
That's changed a lot over the years, hasn't it?
Hasn't it just? Surfers is interesting. And see, funnily enough, a lot of those nightclubs are still there. But for a wheelchair user getting into some of those clubs,
Can you talk us through what it's like?
Because
Because I mean, like to add a bit of humility, because
Yeah.
I guess a lot of people like this, we don't think about that.
Yeah.
And I've just got questions coming in like, how'd you get in? Like, what do you do? Like, do you have any trouble with idiots? That sort of stuff.
you do.
Because people are drunk, they just have no filter.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. So as far as getting in, a lot of them have got stairs, or stairs to get up to, or they might have back entrances that security guards have got to go and unlock 5 doors so you can get in, or you might find yourself going through a kitchen of a restaurant to get in the back door of a club. So it was a lot of that. There was also a lot of my buddies that I was hanging out with carrying me upstairs.
Good people.
Yeah, great people. And
Hey,
it
come
was-
on, lads.
yeah,
Let's go.
Yeah, it's like one on each end of the chair, and up we went. So that's what it was like. When we were leaving clubs, if I was designated driver, generally that didn't happen because I'd seen how much they'd had to drink,
Yeah.
and didn't quite trust them carrying me downstairs. If I'd been having a few as well, I didn't care. So yeah, landed on my face a few times, landed on my ass a few times, but.
No harm done.
No, I'm still here to tell the story.
Yeah.
I'm a wheelchair user, but I'm still
Yeah,
here to
yeah.
tell the tale.
What happened? Big night.
Yeah, just a big night in town. Yeah.
What, have you got any like favorite moments or funniest moments being out with the guys?
Yeah, absolutely, I do. There used to be, the name of it escapes me, there used to be an Irish pub on Cavill Avenue around where is it Guildhall?
It's not Kitty O'Shea's, is it?
Yeah, something
Right.
like that.
Do you want about opposite the McDonald's, right near the like the end,
It
right
was
near the opposite the coast?
upstairs from where McDonald's was up there.
Yes. People will be screaming the name now,
Is it
but
Gilhooly?
something like that.
Something,
But
I
you're
can't
right,
remember.
yeah, and it was
Yeah.
right on. It was actually deceitfully big inside.
Picture this: wood stairs, polished wood stairs. The boys carrying me upstairs.
Yeah, because there's a few.
Yeah. Thick smell of stale beer on the stairs and that sort of stuff. One of my buddies, I'm not going to mention any names because I'll be nice to him, but pretty girl walks past and he's like this, lost me. So I started bouncing down the stairs on my back on these hard stairs.
Ooh.
And we still, to this day, we still give him, crap about that.
But you were okay.
Yeah, I was a bit, it was an excuse for them to buy me beers for the rest of the night.
Hey.
So, yeah, it's like, you drop me down the stairs, give me drinks. So,
Hey, you got to milk it for all it's worth.
100%, yeah. So, yeah.
Did he even get that girl's number?
Yeah, it's, the amount of times people are, females come up and go, oh, can I sit in your chair? Okay.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Is that
that's
a
like,
thing? Oh, that's funny.
It's like, yeah, but I can't jump out of my chair,
You can sit on my lap.
Yeah,
in the chair.
but you can sit on my lap if you want. Yeah.
How did that go, I guess, with the opposite sex? Did you find that they were very like inquisitive, curious? Were they a bit standoffish?
Yeah, really standoffish back. Yeah, it was not.
Because I guess times have changed now, right? Anything goes, really.
100%. Yeah, back then, I was going to say back in the day.
Back in the day.
Back in the day.
We're getting old.
Yeah. Yeah. It was different. It was, and I wasn't, I wasn't forthcoming and that sort of thing either. So, it was interesting. It wasn't until I sort of a bit later in life and I was a little bit older and I was a bit more confident myself and I guess that showed. But it was an interesting time back then. Girls were too scared to ask, or it was the fear of being seen with a guy in a wheelchair and stuff like that. So
bit of stigma.
A bit of stigma, which is all BS as we know, but back in the day, that's what it was.
Exactly,
So,
exactly. Which is like anything really, how it's evolved,
Yeah.
So that brings me to ask, where did you meet your wife?
So my wife and I, over the years, have been involved in a Rotary run camp called RITES. It's Rotary Youth Transition Seminar. And basically schools from all over the state select a few kids to go to this camp. And it's basically team leadership skills, life skills, that sort of thing. It's a week-long camp. And we were both involved in that. So I spoke on the camp every year.
That's great.
And Christy, my wife, was a support person on the camp. She went on the camp and looked after the students and whatnot. And, so we knew each other for 10 years before we actually got together. And then one day,
cool.
Yeah, it was really cool. And we were friends,
That's the best way, really.
It worked for us, And one day she's like, hey, let's catch up. And I'm like, yeah, okay, cool. And as they say, the rest is history.
It's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's important though with someone that you spend, a long time, the rest of your life with, they've got to be your best friend.
Oh, 100%.
There needs to be more.
And particularly, she's dealt with a lot with me, as far as hospital trips and illness and things like that. So, she wouldn't probably say this herself, but she's bloody tough. Like, she's strong. She has to be to put up with me, I guess, too. And because then we've got our 5-year-old Fletcher as well. So but so we're 12 years married and going strong. So.
Yeah, that's awesome, man.
Yeah,
Does it seem like it's been 12 years, or has it gone fast?
Oh no, it doesn't seem like 12 years. It has gone fast. There's been a lot of in between. As I say, hospital trips for me, and there's been a few things, but and then we'd been together and married a while before Fletch came along. But it's every day's a journey, man. Every day's a journey.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah.
And what's it like now being a dad?
It's amazing. It's the best. Seriously, it's the best thing ever. He's awesome. Anybody who meets Fletcher and knows me, he goes, he's yours. He's like,
oh yeah.
He's like,
it's like a mini version of you.
Yeah. I mean, I'm small. I'm 3 foot tall in my chair, but he's just personality-wise, he's awesome. He's cheeky, but he's got a good heart. He's got the best heart ever. So no, I'm really proud of him. He's a good kid.
Yeah.
So I think we've all the I guess as a human, sometimes you question yourself and all that, but and as a parent you question yourself a lot. But some days I look back and I go, no, I've done this okay.
Done all right. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not taking all the credit. My wife Christy's amazing, and she, you could look at the situation and say that Christy actually has two kids. She has a 39-year-old and a 5-year-old. So, somebody's got to keep the balance as well.
Yeah. Well, it's a team effort.
Yeah. 100%.
Isn't it, when you've got kids? I imagine.
100%. He's funny. He a couple of weeks ago he tried to play Christy and I off against each other. She'd said no.
As all good kids figure out to do.
100%. It's what they do.
I'll ask Dad for this. I'll ask Mum for that, and I'll play the difference.
He was literally where he went wrong, and it was his first time, so give him his due. But he was literally me to you away, and Christy was on the other side, like we on the other side of you. And he's like, "Mum, can I do this?" Christy said no. So then he literally turns on the spot and goes, "Dad, can I do this?" I'm like, "You got to do better than that, dude."
Yeah. Otherwise, you end up getting in the argument.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I'm like, no. I'm like, what'd your mother say?
Yeah. It's a bit like that, isn't it? Things you do when you're young, though.
Yes. Yeah. That one will get brought up at 18th and 21st, I think.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
So you did your racing. That came to a close. You went out. You lived your best life with your mates.
Yeah.
You met love of your life somewhere along the way as well. Had your son Fletcher, but. Obviously, somewhere in between all that, you've fallen in love with becoming somewhat of a coach, a trainer, if you will. So talk to me about how this came to actuality.
So I became a personal trainer. I'd sort of developed that passion for exercise and fitness again. And
what age was this?
It's early 20s.
Right.
I'd say.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you were kind of doing that when you were still racing then,
or
just towards it? Okay.
Yeah, it was probably I'd say mid 20s, because I sort of got out of racing at 21, 22. Had a couple of years of just doing my thing, and then it was probably a couple of years went by before I decided to.
Well, out of interest, what were you doing for work over that period of time?
Call centres, lots and lots and lots of call centres, and it was, I don't begrudge the work,
It teaches you a lot of skills.
It teaches you some,
resilience
and
and
communication.
Thick skin.
But
get a lot of hang-ups.
But and I'd kind of realised that it that wasn't always going to be for me. Like I'd sort of, there was more there and more I wanted to do. I just had to figure out how to get there and what to do. And so it came in the form of doing my Cert 3 and 4 in fitness, becoming a personal trainer. Worked at a gym for a while, and and then actually went out and started my own business. So was running park sessions and going to people's houses and stuff. Excuse me.
Oh no, you're right. Go for it. You got to keep the whistle wet. It's an old school trick. Not that one though. I'm joking.
No.
Jesus, what's in it? Turps. No, I'm
Yeah.
joking. It's only Powerade, guys. Don't worry.
It is.
With a shot of vodka. No, I'm joking.
Yeah. So I did the Cert 3 and 4 in fitness, and I got offered. I was lucky. I got offered a spot, a PT spot at the gym that I worked at the time.
Where was that?
At the gym I was training at, I should say, which was Jets at Ashmore.
Right. Okay.
I was sort of there pretty religiously, and they got to know me pretty well. So
That's
they offered
awesome.
me a spot, which was great.
That's really good.
Yeah. So
It's a better transition because the members know you, the staff know you, you've got some sort of a presence. It's a
Yeah.
nice transition.
it was great. It was one day I was there just in my normal gym clothes, and next minute I was there wearing a red shirt and whatever, and PTing and stuff. It was really cool. So and I loved it. It was great. Just found my way into my own business as well. I never wanted to be sort of, I guess, pigeonholed into just training people with disabilities, but as natural flow of progression went, that's where I ended up. So,
Yeah, right.
With Tash, so wheelchair racing in Queensland is really tough. Sorry, I'm going to have to do another one of
No, go for it. Yeah. Something caught up. I was just looking at your tattoo, Fletcher as well. That's really cool.
Fletch,
Yeah,
So,
I like that.
I got that done. Excuse me. I got that done when he was about 6 weeks old.
Yeah.
So
And that's obviously when he was born.
Yeah. Just whenever I'm filling out forms, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's what. And that was his last scan. Got his heart rate, and so I got that copied onto.
That's cool.
Onto that, yeah.
I like it.
Yeah, so I've got
Something nostalgic.
Yeah, absolutely. I've got 4 tats, but this is probably the most visible one.
And I'm sure probably one of the most meaningful as well.
Oh, 100%, 100%. Yeah. So, but yeah, with training,
You're saying wheelchair racing?
yeah,
It's very competitive.
yeah, it's not a whole lot of support in Queensland for wheelchair sports, or for a lot of wheelchair sports. We've got our state body that basically look after 3 or 4 sports, and that's about it. But anything else, they sort of don't lend their hand to. But Tash, who I coach now, sent me a message, and she's like, "Hey, I'm looking for somebody to help me out, to coach me. Are you interested?" And at the time, I was doing my PTing. I thought, it kind of seemed like a bit of a natural progression, I guess. So I said, yeah, absolutely. There was nobody else in the state who had any knowledge. I mean, I didn't, profess to be any sort of, amazing coach or whatever, but I had the knowledge of what I had from when I was racing, and I knew what needed to be done and all that sort of stuff. I'm like, yeah, you know what? Absolutely, sign me up. So, as they say, the rest is history, and we've been training together 4 years or something now. So, yeah, she's kicking some big goals, which is awesome.
Yeah, she's doing really well.
Yeah, she is. Yeah.
So talk us through then, I guess, for the people who listen who are really into the, the more mechanistic side of training and nutrition. What have you done with Tash since starting in terms of what does the training look like? When you're working with someone with a disability, what are some of the other things that, apart from the obvious, that you've got to consider?
Yeah.
And Tash obviously talked to us about some of this and even her nutrition based on, her requirements, which are very nuanced as well.
Yeah.
But maybe you can talk us through some of more like the programming aspects or like how you've broken that down and improved Tash to where she is now, which is obviously very successful athlete.
Absolutely. So for Tash, we focused a lot for a wheelchair racer, obviously all upper body. Prior to Tash and I starting to work together, Tash was pushing around in her day chair and doing, 20, 30 Ks a day in her day chair, which from a body perspective is horrible for your shoulders, really bad. And one of the biggest things for people with disabilities or wheelchair users or people with wheelchair sport is ruining their shoulders. Rotator cuff issues are a massive thing.
I can imagine.
Massive thing. So, I guess my focus for her was getting her strong, but making sure we kept those things in check, rotator cuff and all that sort of stuff. So, major focus on that. I stopped her straight away. I'm like, you do not go out and you push those distances in your day chair ever again.
Yeah.
Do a mini racing chair. Racing chair, is built for that.
It's more ergonomic.
Much more ergonomic.
Designed for that.
And we had to, so Tash's got rheumatoid arthritis, so it was working around what she needed and what she could and couldn't do as far as her joints were concerned as well. So there was a lot of thought. There's a lot of screening that we did about, is this going to work? And it took us a while to figure out, because, based on the knowledge I had, we just went out and I'm like, okay, this is what we're going to do. But amongst the chest, back, shoulders, tries, buys, and core, there was a whole bunch of stuff that I just assumed would be good because I can do it. But because of, her rheumatoid and different things, wasn't as easy for her. So, it was figuring out and me doing a lot of research as to online about other exercises and ways we can get the same effect. We generally do a 5-day split. So chest, back, shoulders, tries, and buys. Tries and buys on the same day, and we do a midday, which is more like a functional session. And medicine ball throws. We swim as well on that day. It's a midweek recovery session, which is a bit odd, I know, but
no, it works.
We have sort of two-day block of getting it done, then have a little bit of a training day, but it's a lower intensity training day.
Bit of active recovery.
100%. And then Thursday, Friday, we're back into the gym and in a racing chair. So Tasha will generally do 2 sessions. She does 2 sessions a day. Gym session, and then she's either on the crit track in her racing chair or on the road in her racing chair, or we go to the athletics track and she's in a racing chair. So we generally do 2 crit track sessions a week and 2 athletics track sessions a week. Tasha's a marathoner, but we do use the track for just working on the finer skills, techniques, and we do some intervals, some shorter distance intervals on the track and that sort of thing. And it's good because the track being a smaller environment, I get to see a whole lot more of what she's doing, and we can focus on things a bit more.
I talked to Tash about this in terms of like the weather being obviously a factor, and obviously at the moment in Queensland it's not been great. Do you have an indoor track or velodrome that you guys can use?
No, it'd be great. It was funny,
I'm just thinking it'd be very easy, but it'd be great to work on speed stuff, just because I imagine the surface would be beautiful.
Oh yeah, indoors it would be amazing. There's not one around. We get really, when the weather turns bad, there's a lot of races out there that will go out and train in the wet and all that sort of stuff, just due to health and
resiliency.
Yeah.
Because Tash was telling me something about like the grip. It's really hard to. Yeah. That's the problem, is because she was saying you actually, where you actually, people think it's a different part of the hand, but it's on the side. Is that right?
You're not actually gripping the wheel at all. When you're in a racing chair, you're actually punching the wheel with that.
Weird.
So yeah, it is. So it's rubber. The gloves got rubber and the wheels got rubber. So it's rubber on rubber contact. And when it's wet, it's
tough.
Yeah, it's tough. So a lot of people have different glues that they use, handball glue and different things, which makes things a little bit easier. But yeah, training in the wets is a nuisance. So yeah, we might find on, some days we just have to get out and do it.
Yeah.
Because you're going to show up to a race one day and
it's a good skill to have.
Yeah.
It's like riding a motorcycle. You're going to get hit with the rain one day, so you better as well get good in it.
100%. And one day you're going to show up to a race and it's going to happen. And I've seen it. I've been in races myself where they're won and lost on your ability to race under those conditions. Whether it be pouring down rain, thunder, lightning, or a beautiful sunny day. So it's just one of those things you've got to. But yeah, unfortunately at this point, no indoor here. So we end up on days when we really can't train in the chair. We're in the pool or some other sort of cardio fitness.
Yeah.
Ski ergs are a really big one for us.
I was going to say, upper body. So how do you, I guess, as well, to jump in as well with the shoulder thing, because that's obviously a key factor anyway. Even a lot of athletes, a lot of people have, damaged shoulders, improper form, too much intensity, etc. And the shoulder joint, it's great, it's universal, but it's very complex.
Yes.
And, we talk about this concept of bulletproof shoulders. So if I can use that sort of as a bit of a metaphor, how, in this environment are you building up, apart from, again, some of the obvious things, bulletproof shoulders or shoulders that have that endurance in, the obviously racing demands? Because like you said, it's not like you can use your legs. And, you need your arms and shoulders for every day. So it's quite a precarious situation. Because you can't really, you don't want to overdo it because it's like there's a lot of repercussions. Which is what I was thinking when Tash was talking to me about it.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, shoulders are not meant for what a wheelchair user puts them through.
Yeah.
Simple as that. Your legs are, your shoulders aren't, by virtue of the fact that. So we do a lot of rotator cuff exercise, and it's all about strengthening those areas and knowing when to go, you know what, enough's enough. If we're out and Tasha's getting particular pain in her shoulders, things like that, we'll pull a pin on a session, because pushing things like that are just a no-go for us. I guess I was, in a way, I should say, fortunate when I was racing and coming up through the sport. I saw a lot of guys that were my age and younger who couldn't move themselves around anymore and relied on so much help getting in and out of chairs and stuff like that, because they'd stuffed the rotator cuffs, and they were young, fit, healthy guys, but couldn't move themselves around. And I promised myself that I would never be like that, and I would never allow anybody I was working with to be like that.
Yeah, I can imagine it gets a little bit rough sometimes for
Yeah,
people.
yeah. So, shoulder injuries, we've got a really good exercise physiologist that we work with. Tash does basically shoulder warm up every session, because literally every session we do involves the shoulders at some level. So she does a shoulder warm up and rotator cuff every session, just to make sure those joints are free and moving. And
that's it. Obviously, seeing the right people, getting the right prescription, the right modalities. Again, training volume.
X-rays, and just if there's a niggle there,
Catch it early.
just absolutely catch it early before we push it too much. And if we get an X-ray, if we get a scan or whatever, and we know what we're working with, it gives us a much better idea of what we can get away with and what we can't get away with. Yeah, and that's where we find swimming's really good too.
Lower well, it's just like a a resistance that's a little easier on the joints.
Yeah.
In that sort of lesser gravity environment rather than constant resistance through weight training.
Absolutely, she's turned the arms over. It's good for lung capacity as well, which as a racer is a really important thing. And we use hot and cold recovery therapy as well. So all of those things are really helpful.
Which is brilliant. Do you guys do that out in the ring?
Yeah, we do. Yeah. It's great out there. We generally on a Wednesday, we'll jump in the pool. The pool there's amazing. Do some laps in the pool and then do a few in and outs of the hot and cold there.
Yeah, it definitely works.
Oh yeah. I get home and I'm not usually one for falling asleep on the couch, but that generally after that
Takes it out of you. So you obviously do, and I'm seeing this because I've watched you and Tash train in the gym. You partake in some or most of these sessions as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So we train together 95% of the time. I don't get in a racing chair. I'm working on getting in a racing chair again. Tash really wants me to get in a racing chair again. So, but yeah, as far as gym training's gone, what she does, I do. So I figure if it's good for her, it's good enough for me. And I kind of run by the whole. I wouldn't make her do something I'm not prepared to do myself either.
Yeah.
So. So it's good. We're always looking for different ways of adapting things, and I guess my biggest, I wouldn't say fault, but the thing that annoys her most is I'm a bit of a purist. I stick to what I know and what I know works, and she's always looking for new ways. So we kind of balance that out by doing a few different things here and there.
Yeah, which is great, and that's not a bad thing.
Yeah,
it's not a bad thing at all.
It keeps things fresh, and
Do you coach any other athletes?
Just a quick one, guys, before we carry on with the podcast. For any of you who are interested in taking your health and physique to the next level and you want to remove the guesswork, you're not quite getting the progress that you want, you're not seeing what you want to see in the mirror, and you're not feeling like you're really moving in the right direction, then click the link in the bio below, the apply button, where you can contact me. We can organize a free consultation, no obligation, and discover whether it's a good fit as coach and client. All right, back to it.
Do you coach any other athletes as well as Tash? And if so, are they all in the same kind of sport, or do you have different athletes who are doing different things, in terms of competing with disabilities, etc.? I see a lot of that across like the Olympic sports, etc., which I actually really love watching. I like watching the sprinters, that have lost their limbs, and I'm just like, that's fucking incredible, man. Like I see the resiliency, and I'm like, man, it inspires me.
Amputees with running on blades and stuff.
I'm like,
that's
mate,
insane.
they're actually quicker.
Yeah,
apparently, because of the spring. It's almost like an advantage, which it would be. I mean, if you can build a carbon fiber, and you've got the capacity to still kind of, extend and flex at the hip, then I mean, you're going to be dangerous.
It's just insane. Well, some of these guys compete at both the Olympics and the Paralympics. Because they've qualified for both.
I was going to say, I mean, brilliant.
So they can, so you're getting the opportunity to.
That's actually pretty cool. I should watch a race because I'm not actually seeing them combined.
Yeah. So Oscar Pistorius, who got himself into a little bit of trouble a few years ago.
Oh, what did he do?
Yeah, but he ran in the Olympics and then backed up for the Paralympics. Which was pretty cool to see. I think there's been a few others since him as well.
Yeah, that's very cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, do you have, I guess, another sort of roster of athletes as well as?
I don't at this point. I've sort of coached one or two other kids on, juniors on and off, and who sort of they're just helping them out as far as setting them up in a racing chair. For anybody who's actually seen a racing chair, it's very specific.
There's a lot of camber, right, on the wheels.
How you sit in them, leg position, where your legs go is very specific to the person.
Why?
Some people can. Some people that jump in a racing chair can literally kneel on their legs. So their legs
is that
will.
better?
Um,
Center of gravity.
It's the chosen way of doing it. I can't.
That's fucking uncomfortable.
Oh, I know. Can you imagine, like 40?
No, I can't.
40, yeah.
Because I mean, me even just getting into that position is awkward.
Man, I can't feel my legs, so
Yeah.
I can imagine and go, shit. I reckon that'd be really uncomfortable.
Yeah,
but,
no. Really good quad mobility is needed.
I reckon. I could never do that in a racing chair. My leg, I don't have the flexibility in my knees to, tuck my knees up behind me. So I strapped my legs up just as far back as they'd go.
Yeah.
But things like that, so foot plates, push technique. I worked on some of that with some up and coming juniors and some of that as well. But at this point, Tash is the only athlete I coach regularly.
Yeah.
Definitely open for more if there's more people.
Yeah, for sure. Well, we'll put the links in the bio, my friend.
Yeah.
What are some of the main takeaways and I guess learnings that you've taken since working with Tash specifically? Because like you said, you work very closely with her, you worked with her for a long time.
Yeah.
What have you learned from that experience? And it can be other general life takeaways.
Yeah. As I mentioned before, I'm very much, it's helped me. Like I always thought I was pretty good at adapting, but working with Tash has helped me to, I guess, think more in that space and adapt more because of Tasha's rheumatoid arthritis and she's type 1 diabetic as well. So there's making sure she's got what she needs before she goes out and pushes 20, 25 Ks in a racing chair, all that sort of thing. It's I've learnt a lot about that, and as far as mobility for her and exercise and all that sort of stuff. Probably the biggest takeaways. It's been a real learning curve.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you learn when you're on the tools, right? At the end of the day, which is good.
100%. Yeah. Just if we're talking specifically with her, just with her diabetes, as far as noticing, I often would notice things happening for her before she noticed it, like a drop in her blood sugars and things like that. Because Tash is also visually impaired, she relies on me a lot for being able to see things as well. It's been a massive, I guess, range of different things that we have to focus on and think on and work around. Yeah,
definitely keeps you on your toes, that's for sure.
Yeah, in a big way.
Yeah, no pun intended.
Yeah, no, I know. Get on my toes.
Hey, there he is. Well, that's it. You got that upper body strength there, my friend.
Yeah.
So
dips in the chair.
Literally, right?
Yeah.
What would for other athletes out there as well that are disabled or they're paralyzed, what advice would you give to those athletes who may be listening in, or even just for athletes in general that we can take away an application?
I guess my biggest thing is and this, I guess, not just for athletes but for anybody really, people with disabilities, is say yes more. I'm not saying say yes all the time, because I'm not the sort of person that's ever going to jump out of a perfectly good plane. But there's so much of life to live just by saying yes, and putting yourself out there a little bit, and trying new experiences and meeting new people, and just giving random stuff that you thought you'd never. I'm not saying bad stuff, but just giving everything a go, trying new things. To parents of people of kids with disabilities, they're more capable than you might think. So absolutely, just go out and give everything a go.
Would that be some advice you'd give to your younger self as well, or would there be something different that you'd want to say?
100%. As I said earlier, you know, I was really lucky that I probably didn't push myself as much as I could have because of my own thoughts, feelings, and fears, I guess. Whereas my parents, on the other hand, were like, "Yeah, go out and give it a go." Knowing what I know now, I absolutely would have, you know, pushed myself maybe a little bit more than what I did. But I'm thankful that I came to that realization, and using what I've got left of this good life to, go out and do stuff.
It's a bit like that, isn't it? And I think hindsight is a great thing.
100%.
Obviously, as well.
Sorry.
No, go on.
I was going to say, you know, it's, I always say to people, don't let something happen to make you have that realization. Like for me, it was, you know, it's ill health and all that sort of stuff. But you know, if you had that mindset from the beginning, you're not missing out. You know, you don't miss out on anything.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
No, it definitely does.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a thing that we talk about a lot in today's life, and we get caught up sometimes in the past, in the future, but then sometimes as a dichotomy, sometimes too much in the present.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that, for people listening, because that might sound confusing, is that we take for granted that, you know, every day comes and everything is going to be, you know, as it is, and tomorrow really never comes in relation to, oh, you know, I'll do that someday. I mean, and we're all guilty of it, but putting a plan of action in place, making sure you make it real, you put it down on paper, you tell people,
100%.
you hold yourself accountable, whether it is, like you said, jumping out of a plane perfectly good, or whether it's going on that holiday that you wanted to do, or the spontaneity. We all do it because it takes effort, and the path to least resistance always wins.
Yeah, 100%.
But again, I think we constantly need to just remind ourselves of this simple but very critical concept of just getting out there and making things happen.
Absolutely.
Which I think is a great takeaway.
Yeah. Life is for living, and you know, don't wake up tomorrow knowing that you can't, wishing that you had.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
Well, look, before we get on to some rapid fire questions and round it out, which are pretty fun in nature.
Yeah. Excellent.
You'll enjoy these. I wanted to ask what's on the cards for the future for you, for Tash, you know, for the business, you know, in Invincible and helping people go forth. I know you're doing some classes, you're doing some seminars, symposiums, you know, whatever you want to name them and label them.
Yeah, so Tash and I do a lot of speaking around motivation, resilience. My program's around finding your why, discovering your passion, your purpose, that sort of thing. So, you know, we're doing a lot of that sort of stuff at the moment, which is great. You know, getting out there. As far as training is concerned, I'm a big believer in always learning and, you know, learning new things and new ways of doing things. And, you know, I'm sort of thinking about, as far as, you know, extending my knowledge and all that sort of stuff. So that's me. Tasha's got competition coming up in June, which is a track competition. So she's, by virtue, a marathon racer, but she's sort of dabbling in a bit of track at the moment as well.
Which is a shorter distance?
Shorter distance. So she's been doing the 100, 200, 400 and 800. So it's
almost like sprinting from there. Yeah, that's cool, man.
Yeah, 100%.
What's the speeds that they get up out to of interest? Top speed, like when you're doing those shorter distances?
Shorter distances, 30 to 40, somewhere in the 30 to 40k an hour. Yeah.
It's decent.
Some of the top races, some of the top guys will get much faster than that. But yeah,
60?
They move. Yeah. Well, yeah, possibly 50s maybe.
Yeah, that's decent.
So, but yeah, they move. You wouldn't want to get in their way, that's for sure.
Fuck no. Yeah, that's cool to see.
Yeah. So yeah, we've got that. So Mackay coming up in June, and then we get into marathon season. So Gold Coast Marathon at home, which is going to be really nice. It's nice to, and it's my favourite, and I think it's Tash's favourite too.
How many people is Tash up against? Like, what can you expect at a meet? Like, and I know it always fluctuates, but you know, for example, say the marathon in general. I know there's categories as well, and obviously it's on probably the same circuit.
Yeah.
But in Tash's, well, actually, how many categories are there that they split, you know, the wheelchair racing up into?
Yeah.
Is it just males and females, or is there even other categories as well?
It depends on the race. They all tend to individually do it individually. depending on the race. But yeah, it's generally male, female, first, second, third in wheelchair racing. But it depends if they've got low numbers, like if there's not as many wheelies, they might just do male or female. There's one or two races that just do like a
overall.
Yeah, overall. Yeah. So.
But you're getting how many turn up to compete?
Generally, some you can show up. There might be 4 or 5 races. Others there might be 30 or 40 or 50.
Oh yeah.
Depending
That's
on the
cool.
race. There used to be a wheelchair race in Sydney on Australia Day, which was phenomenal. The race is still going on. Sadly they just don't get as many people. Back when I used to do it, you'd be lining up with 100, 150.
That's wicked.
And it was massive.
It would have been so cool as well, just to meet like-minded people as 100%.
Well. 100%. People travel from all over the world. Yeah. So,
I know you're right. It's good, like again, when you have that, it motivates you as well as an athlete.
Oh, and it was Australia Day, so beginning of the year, and it was phenomenal. Like you're lining up with, and great way for meeting friends and just mixing it with some of the world's best. Like back then, it was and it still is. It's a phenomenal road race, and it was a fast race. Beautiful scenery, and the crowd was there because it was Australia Day, and you're in the Rocks area in Sydney. So, what more could you want?
Yeah, exactly right. It's very, very cool in that respect, right?
Yeah, 100%.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Well, look, let's get into the rapid fire questions. They're a bit more fun in nature, lighthearted.
Cool.
So, whatever comes to mind first, because the more you think about these, the more answers generally develop, and you'll generally change your answer. So, I want the knee-jerk reaction, the initial kind of that's what I do. The first one is, if you could choose a superpower and you can make one up, what would it be and why?
Hold my breath underwater.
Hey, that's a good one.
I'm ocean obsessed.
That is a belter. No one's actually said that.
Oh, cool. Oh, good.
Yeah, that's a really good one. Or be able to like breathe underwater, I guess.
Yeah. The very, very top of my bucket list is swimming with whale sharks.
It's on my to-do. We were talking about that lately.
Absolutely. I'm.
Can you do that in Australia? Because whale sharks different than obviously the great whites. Excuse me.
Yeah, I think you can swim. I don't know if it's whale sharks. WA, I think you can do it. In North Queensland, you can swim with.
I know the great whites are in Perth.
Yeah. Okay.
Whew, that's one hell of a predator.
I
want to do the cage one. Yeah, I want to do it.
You want the cage? I mean, they can. They can have my legs if they want. It's a bit of a taster, but.
Yeah, you need the upper body still.
Yeah. I'd like to keep that if possible. Yeah.
So that'll be the one. I like it.
Ocean obsessed. I guess growing up on the Gold Coast and surrounded by water, and I grew up being on the water. With my dad, we used to go out in our boat, or my sister and my mum as well, and just always been around water and just love it.
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine not being near the water.
I know what you mean.
Couldn't do it.
Feel claustrophobic in some ways.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
My next one is if you could choose up to 3 people to have dinner with, dead or alive.
Yes.
Who would they be?
Oh,
and this is a tough question because it would change.
Yeah. Okay, 3 people, dead or alive.
It's only 3 seats.
Oh.
It's hard because there's so many people you'd want.
Yeah. I'm just trying to. And this is probably one people say all the time. I've always thought Nelson Mandela would have been.
I mean, there's some mentions, but on my podcast, it's not. No, it's not 2 people, but I think I'd be about it.
Yeah. So Nelson Mandela would be one. I think. Who else? I'm thinking.
You do put a little bit of thought into it. Yeah. You'll go home later and you'll go, God,
no answer. Yeah.
I could have had this person.
I think probably Michael Jordan.
Yeah,
would
MJ.
He'd be a cool one. I think so. Yeah.
I like the way he speaks as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Seems like a quite a character.
Yeah, 100%. And there's a speaker. I'm just trying to think of his name. I'll think of it now.
Is he an older or a younger speaker?
Younger guy. younger guy. I can't think of his name.
It's not Gary Vee.
No, Gary. See, Gary Vee would be very cool. I've seen Gary Vee speak, and just like he's just so. Just because he's himself, you know, he's himself. He's so captivating, Gary Vee. I've seen him.
It's not Tony Robbins.
No, not Tony. I haven't seen Tony Robbins. Tash, I believe, has seen Tony Robbins.
Yes.
Yeah, Tony Robbins speak.
You can speak about that.
Yeah.
What about a third one?
Third one. Yeah, let me think of somebody else.
So you've got Nelson Mandela.
Nelson Mandela.
You've got Michael Jordan.
Michael Jordan.
You're trying to think of this public speaker.
Yeah, yeah.
The younger. I'm trying to think of a younger public speaker though.
Yeah, I'm just. He developed the why discovering the why concept.
Yes, Simon Sinek.
That's the man. Yeah, I'm glad you thought of.
No, because I actually thought I was like, I wonder if it is Simon Sinek, but I didn't.
Yeah, no, it's him. Yeah. So I've been.
I was going to say because he's the why guy.
Yeah. Listening to a lot of his stuff, and I just think conversation with him would be amazing. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I'm glad you came up with this because I was sitting there, what's the guy's name? You know? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a big fan. I think he's got some great concepts. That's for sure.
Yeah.
And the last one would be if you have one last meal, what is that combination looking like? For example, you can have entree, drink, main, dessert. You just have one. What you go to, like that's my jam every time. That's going to hit the spot.
Entree would be Wagyu gyoza.
Ooh,
Gyoza? Is that
like
how
it? No, it is.
Gyoza?
No, you're bang on.
Yeah, let's go with that.
I mean, I'm sure there's someone Japanese out there who's telling me I'm wrong. But
Main would be my mum's lasagna.
hey, now you're talking.
Nearly 40 years old, and I will go to my grave thinking my mum's lasagna. I think everyone thinks their mum's lasagna is the best, but mine is. And a banoffee pie dessert.
Mate, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, good thing I'm on wheels because they'd have to wheel me out after that.
Yeah, I concur, mate. They are some good choices.
Yeah.
They're solid.
Yeah.
I like that.
Thanks.
What about a drink? Why not? Let's top it off.
Oh, if we're talking alcoholic beverages.
Oh, anything.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah. Jack Daniels probably is
the
my
JD
poison.
man.
Yeah, JD is my poison. Yeah. So, JD and Coke or Diet Coke. Yeah. I've
Keep a little bit healthy.
Yeah. I'm so used to the diet stuff now. It's drink something. You order a drink and if they put normal Coke in it, it's so noticeable. Right?
I joke with people. I was like, "Oh, the full fat version." Like, there's no fat in it. Like, yeah, no, I'm just messing.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, it's the full strength.
The full strength.
But on that note as well, it's interesting to see how chocolate bars have changed the composition, the serving sizes, the amounts. Same with soft drinks. I remember even when I was back in my teens and I was in motor racing, and I remember I would get a Fanta after the race. The kids would get Coke. I never liked Coke, blessing in disguise perhaps, but I remember looking at the can just out of interest back then. And it was up to, I believe it was between 60 or 70 grams. I think it was even 75 grams of sugar.
Yeah.
And this was a can, mate. It's a 375 miller. And now, the bottles, I looked, I think it was years ago now, and it went sort of to around that 40, 50 mark.
Yeah.
And now it's at like the 27, 30 mark.
Yeah.
So they've really brought it down, which is probably not a bad thing because not a lot of people, apart from athletes, would need that kind of glucose hit, sugar hit all in one sitting. It's a very acute time for that. And for most people who are drinking those drinks, they're going to be generally sedentary. So, they don't need 80 grams of sugar just bang in the system.
Imagine, somebody, who's not in an active job sitting at a desk, just,
Well, mate, you have 5 cups of them a day and then you see where the calories come from. People go, I don't know how I'm putting on weight. Well, I can tell you how you're putting on weight.
Exactly what you're doing. Exactly
It's all of those little things.
Yeah.
And down on my final question, which is a bit more serious in nature, which I ask all my guests at the end, and that is, can you identify a fear that you've had or may still have, what it was, and what you are doing or what you have done to overcome that said fear? Could be anything from public speaking to spiders to jumping out of airplanes.
Yep.
What is it for you that you've learned from or been able to cultivate, or perhaps it's something that you're still facing up to?
Probably my biggest fear is not showing Fletcher how amazing life can be. So that's something that's something I work towards every day. Is different ways of and wanting to be able to show him what life can give you if you just reach out and grab stuff with both hands and look after yourself and how amazing things can be. Yeah. So I guess as far as fear is concerned, and also looking after myself and making sure that. In saying that, that's probably my biggest one is people with my disability. Up until fairly recently, there's a lot of stuff that can knock you down. Health issues and whatnot. So my biggest fear, is making sure that is going before my time and so making sure that I'm around for him and happy and healthy and active and living my best life for him.
Yeah. No, I love that, man. Well, it's great, like you said, because when you've got now someone else, not only your wife, but your son Fletcher, who you're responsible for, you feel obligated. Now there is more to lose. Sometimes when you're a young single man, you've got your parents, you got your friends, you don't think like that. No. And you don't want to necessarily think about those things, but you need to be cognizant that you've got people relying on you.
Yeah, 100%.
I think that's a very, a prominent message that we need to be cognizant of.
Yeah. It's just, I had a situation back in 2018. My health took a serious dive, and Fletcher wasn't even one at that time. So from that was sort of my kick up the arse to say, all right, I need to, and it wasn't really through anything that I was doing. It was medication related. I was taking medication that I shouldn't have been taking, I guess. It was prescribed to me. But it put me in a really precarious health situation. And after that, I'm like, you know what? No more of this. I live for him and, making sure I'm around for him for as long as I can be. So,
Yeah. Quite a reminder. I think that's quite an appropriate way to round out what I can say has been quite an interesting, fascinating and inspirational conversation, my friend.
Thank you, man. It's been fun.
Appreciate your time. For people who want to know more, they want to follow along, they might want to reach out for coaching, questions, resources. They might want to come along with some of the seminars or these conversations that you have with Tash as well. Where are the best places for people to go and find you?
So you can go to our website, which is invincible.co. So not .com, .co, because or you can find me on Insta at The Real Adam Shepherd on Insta, or send me an email, adam@invincible.co. Cool.
There you go. Easy, short, sharp, sweet. Lions, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening or watching wherever you're tuning in from. As ever, if you like this episode, give it a like on YouTube, share it with someone who you'll find it valuable as well, or who will appreciate it, because it helps the channel grow. Again, leave a rating and a review. It takes a minute if it's safe to do so, but it means a lot. And again, we can keep getting this into more people's ears. And as you already know, until the next episode, stay fearless.
For those of you who are confused, frustrated, and sick and tired of not seeing the results that you want or deserve, make sure that you click the Apply for Coaching button in the description below and line up a completely free consultation with myself, where we can discover if it's a good fit as client and coach and take your health and physique to the next level once and for all.